Hello, welcome everyone to this week's community practice. I am in my house instead of the studio, so I'm kind of in the unfamiliar setup with my keyboard, my tripod propped on my keyboard here, and the light is a little off. So anyway, getting set up, I accidentally had the tripod sitting on the keyboard, so it was accidentally leaving a comment that was like just X, like letters all in a row. So anyway, let me go ahead and get the recording set up, and then we will go ahead and get started for today and let people have a chance to come on in. Hello, Christy. Hello, Jennifer. Hi, Jody. Hi, Taryn, glad to see you. Hi, Sherry, glad to see you coming on in. Hello, Leanne. Hello, Anita, glad to see you as well. So yeah, hi, Maxine. Okay, so welcome everybody. Hello, Emberly, glad to see you too. You made it. And so yeah, this is one of those days. Hi, Jennifer, glad to see you too. Hi, Bridget, thank you for finding your way here. Okay, so yes, this is one of those days where everything is a little bit bumpy. The internet, we came back from our little trip to Table Rock Lake to discover that the internet in the studio got fried somehow along the way, and so we haven't been able to fix that, so I haven't been able to go out to do my stuff in the studio. And it is a little bit, and then both my big boys went back to college today. The older one's back at his apartment out in the other town where he lives when he's in school. Then the other one just started here in Rolla, so this was his very first day of college, and his car also has the transmission went out on his car, and so his car's been getting repaired to the tune of $6,000 horrible dollars. And so there's like this, he got out of class early, he needs us to come get him to go get the car, etc. So anyway, whoo, taking a deep breath to let that all go. And welcoming you in. I see Anna Maria is here. Dawn, glad to see you. Colleen, glad to see you as well. So let's just settle in to this moment, letting go of any car woes or any kids in college, anything that is on your mind today. Just taking a nice deep breath and allowing that to flow away for a minute. Just let it pass away for a minute. It will still be there when you're ready to pick it back up. And another deep breath. It was Emberly who just said in our Facebook group about being a process of surrender. Sometimes it's a process of surrender. And that's why I keep coming back to the notion of returning instead of arriving. I think there's some spiritual practices that offer some kind of implied promise that you're going to cross the finish line and then you're going to arrive and you're going to have it all figured out. And what I offer is the reminder that we get very bumpy, but we can always return. We can always return. And we can always start where our feet are. So we can always come back home. So there is no finished. We are an unfolding process as well. Life is an unfolding process, and we are an unfolding process. And here we are together in that unfolding process. Here we are together right now. And so I am, it looks like people had a little trouble finding us today. I'm sorry about that. I had the event open. It's interesting. I'm going to close that. It's interesting how Facebook changes. I swear they change how they do things so that sometimes the live shows up right in the group, which is what I prefer. And then sometimes it only shows up in the event. And then sometimes the replay shows up on the main group page, and sometimes it shows up in the event. And there's nothing there's no setting that I change, just like sometimes the chat shows up and sometimes it doesn't. It's just, we have to roll with the whims of the Facebook powers that be, I guess, because it is a little bit challenging to get to. Okay, I'm glad Christy didn't have trouble with it, but sometimes people, yeah, it's a little strugglesome. Janetta, so glad you are here too. That's great. So, okay, well, given the whirl and the kind of discombobulation of getting going. Nobody is too late. Here we are right now, and that's okay. So, another deep breath. Keep coming back to those deep breaths. Keep returning. And I wanted to share a quote that Teal had shared. I believe it was Teal who shared it from Carolyn Riker about August, because we're still here in August. I'm doing a lot of work on September's content right now, so partially my brain is fast forwarded a little bit to September. So refocusing back into August, and this is from the author of The Colors I Hear. August is a month of transition. So I keep talking about the threshold, being on the threshold, and the sensation of there being like a door, a crossroads of choice and change, the cauldron sitting in the crossroads, that sensation of being kind of summoned through the doorway, summoned across the threshold. So this is back to Carolyn. August is a month of transition. I can almost hear imaginary doors opening and closing simultaneously. Some days are just too hot to scurry, and then chilly like the past 2 days. Both are welcome. The hazy mornings feel like vellum separating photos taken from former gardens and this one. I'm in slow motion. Still, I write about what is real in my life and what I want to change. I write about the past, but mostly stay in the present. The future is a dream that is just out of reach. I love to dream. Take it easy, says a voice. It's going to be okay, chimes another one. Spirit companions are what I call them now. Maybe they are fragments of me wandering through passages of time. I enjoy their company. August is mysterious. Part of me aches and another part is content. Yet a few other pieces remain very quiet. I can see them peeking out from behind heavy drapes. I'm giving them lots of room, morsels of sweets and cups of tea with sugar and cream, because I know with time they will join me. Unafraid, curious, spontaneous, adventurous, confident, and full of stories. Together we will write. Maybe this time it'll be a novel, but for now, August will teach me new ways. It will be the grace notes of the future, a flute of birds on a fence post. August holds blooms and creates the walkway to autumn. August holds blooms and creates the walkway to autumn. And so I am working, as I said, on our resources for September. So I've been working on our September newsletter and updating the website for 30 Days of Goddess and all that kind of stuff. And what's really striking me, so along with the thresholds and the crossroads and the cauldron and the steeping, is how the theme for September is flow. So we're going to step out of the cauldron with our power recollected, with hopefully some clarity having settled in and worked her magic. And then we flow. The theme for September is flow. So this nourishment of August, stepping out of the cauldron, but then easing in on this walkway into autumn. Let's ease in. Let's trust that as we step out of the cauldron and the crossroads opens before us, that we can flow with ease into the next steps on our path. And so I loved that. August holds blooms and creates the walkway to autumn. And so, speaking of which, I had a card I wanted to share, one of our Cauldron Month cards about that threshold. And this still says the threshold time approaching. I feel like threshold time is here, but when I wrote this, threshold time is approaching. So I'd like to read that to you as well. There is a threshold time approaching. We may feel awash with possibility or adrift with confusion. And yet we are here anyway, wind in our hair and questions in our eyes. We stand at the threshold, our hearts beating quickly and anticipation buzzing beneath the skin. We may not feel ready. We may feel too small or like not enough. And yet we are here and it is time to choose. And so we gather up our courage and what remains of hope. We fold our hands together and kiss our fingertips in promise. We lift our gaze to the horizon and feel our feet upon this earth, and with our hearts open and our souls aflame, we take the next step anyway into an unmapped landscape of choice and change. So we take the next step anyway, even if we don't feel ready. And that reminds me back to my kid starting college today. One of the things that's interesting about having homeschooled kids is, I took a picture of him when he was leaving this morning. I was like, baby's first day of school, because when you've homeschooled throughout from, birth until 18, then that first day of college is the first day of school too. It's the first day of school too. And that is a big transition. So I know other people do first day of school when the kid is 5. For me, that threshold doesn't come until the kid is 18, but there's still that pang of crossing the threshold and starting something new, entering into something new. So anyway, he's getting picked up right now, so I hope everything went well. I'm looking forward to hearing about his first day. He's only taking 9 credit hours, and so it should be okay, but it's still a big change. I said when my older son started college, and after that first semester was over, I thought, this feels like a final exam of parenting, right? This feels like the final exam as a homeschooling parent is to get your kid through that first semester of college successfully. And it's like, and they make it, and you're like, oh, I passed my final exam of being a homeschooler, and they made it. So ×2, it's starting again today. Okay, so anyway, I do apologize for being a little bit like, my brain is definitely in multiple places at once today, wondering how everything is going with everybody. Oh, Jody, your youngest started his sophomore year today. Yes, and that's, that my older son started his fifth semester, so I'm not necessarily as worried about him as I am, though he's away in a different town, and so I'm waiting for his phone call, to report on how his classes are and stuff like that. So thank you, Janetta. It is pangy. And Christy, I'm so glad your youngest talked about final exams, right? When they finally get through college too, that's extra good. So that is nice. My mom was so happy when all of her kids had finally finished college and she didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. Okay, so I feel like this week's quote from our little quote card is really appropriate to that sensation of being a little off-center and remembering that you can always return. And it is about these modes of goodness. So it is the original quote is from the Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much book, Ann Wilson Schaaf. But she quotes an Apache chant as saying, "Big blue mountain spirit, the home made of blue clouds. I am grateful for that mode of goodness there. I am grateful for that mode of goodness there." So taking a minute to pause, to reflect, and feel into how and where you are right now. What mode of goodness are you feeling grateful for lately? What mode of goodness? So the mode of goodness for me is how wonderful it is that my boys are launching into their college life, that things are, the transition from homeschooling to college has been relatively seamless. It is very, and they're doing well and things are going well. That's a mode of goodness. How about the fact that I know the car costs $6,000 to fix, which is horrible. We just bought this car in May. So having to spend $6,000 to fix it is horrible. And yet it's not going to crush us. We can do it. And so I'm grateful for that mode of goodness as well, that we can take care of our kid, and it's not a horrific crisis. I hate it, but it's not a horrific crisis. I see Bridget, your son's starting graduate school. Oh, great. Graduate school at Boston University. And yes, Karen, I think everybody deserves first day of school pictures, even if they are college, even if they did go to public school, you still need it. But it's definitely these transitional stages. Emberly says, feels in a transition period from mother to crone. Yes, that walkway, the image of the walkway into autumn, this is your walkway perhaps into cronehood. You're walking down that walkway into cronehood. Okay, so then the author of the book goes on about the modes of goodness to say sometimes, and that's the quote that's on the card, sometimes we feel that if everything isn't perfect, we can't be grateful for anything. We can easily fall into all or nothing thinking. When we do, we miss the sunrise and the other forms of goodness that surround us. So there are forms of goodness that surround us, and I find that is really, really a helpful way to re-anchor and come back, return. So the journal question is, what modes of goodness am I feeling grateful for today? And then based on the Life Organizer book, she has this, what small act of self-kindness could help me love myself more? What small act of self-kindness could help me love myself more? What resources do I need to call upon this week? So if we're feeling scattered and discombobulated, what resources can we call upon? What modes of goodness, what forms of goodness can we call upon this week to help support us? And then the affirmation, I am grateful. Perhaps that is enough. I am grateful. And then an amazing quote from the Life Organizer, beyond here and there, beyond words, is the creative spark that holds you and I in the palm of its hand. Beyond here and there, beyond words, is the creative spark that holds you and I in the palm of its hand. Don't you just love that? The creative spark holds you in the palm of its hand. And that is, so I say we walk in the hand of the goddess, like we walk in the palm of her hand every day. And so that how lovely to sink into that awareness that the creative spark holds you in the palm of its hand. And so that's another affirmation for this week. The creative spark holds me in the palm of its hand. And that is a nice one, if I do say so. Okay, so let's see. What else do we have to share today? Oh, so trip-wise, we went on our little trip to Table Rock Lake. That was nice. It wasn't quite as restorative. I was hoping for some cauldrony steeping. Instead, we went kayaking and we went for walks and we went to the candy shop and we went to the fossil shop and went out to dinner. So it wasn't quite as restorative as I've been hoping for, but it was still nice. Next week, we're actually going to the copper mine near St. Louis, kind of. So I hope I'm going to mine up some amazing copper fossils. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm not sure. I told Mark, bring an extra bucket, and if I can collect 60 of them, then the patrons might see a copper piece in their future. But I don't know if I'm going to be have enough endurance to get 60 pieces of copper from the copper mine. But that's coming up next week, and so we'll see what happens. But I saw on their website that they have some pieces that it's copper, but the copper also it's copper and stone mixed together, and the stone part has like spiral shell fossils in it as well as veins of copper. So that would be so cool. Probably not going to find 60 pieces of that, but I'm looking for them, and I have an extra bucket for that purpose. So we'll see what happens. And okay, so I do have a little axe to bring. It's a tailings pile from a mine that's been closed for about 20 years. They say there's a lot of ground finds still available, so you can just walk around and pick things up. It's not too much picking, but it's also steep, and so they did say bring your pickaxes and watch out for people beneath you. So we will be doing that next week. We're going to stay overnight at a cute little cabin in the woods. That's a big window and stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. And so yeah, I had some other thoughts to share about that. Oh, good. Emberly says, my doggie and I are going to Mount Shasta to steep and restore for our birthdays in the October full moon. Yes, so happy full moon today as well. And yes, time to steep and restore is so valuable. It's so, so valuable to have that time to steep. And I'm allowing myself to have moments of steeping, like I didn't get the 3 days to just steep because people wanted to go kayaking and to the candy shop, but there's breaths of steeping. There's an opportunity to steep. I'm really enjoying my social media break. I know I'm still around because I schedule posts in advance and I peek in periodically via my computer, but my screen time use is down by like 3 hours a day with my social media Cauldron Month break, and that's been really good for me as far as defragmenting the brain and calling all those pieces back together. So one of the things I was thinking about, and I have a poem to share about that with you, I think, is I was thinking about trying to write another book, like before the year is over, because I was thinking about all these resources that I create for all of you, and I'm like, there's a book here somewhere, like I should try to really quickly put that together and then make it be a new book and we could all use it next year. And I realized that something I keep coming back to is that life as a living practice or my spirituality is a living practice of arising and unfolding, and trying to like collect everything in advance and like make it into a book that can then hold the whole next year, advanced thinking and like coming up with questions for every month of the year and all the goddesses and all the poems and everything. That's not my practice. This is a living practice, and we share it together in this group. We share this living practice. And so I breathed into that idea of the book, and then I let it go. So we're going to do the Unfolding Book of Magic next year, where we add new pages as the year unfolds, instead of trying to, like, I'm serious, y'all. I sat down yesterday and was like, I could think of 12 months of questions in advance. I could make this amazing book. No, it's going to unfold just like my own spiritual path unfolds. It's a living practice. It's right here, and it's shared experience. So I had a poem about that. Oh, and Dawn, that's the thing. These things bubble to the surface because I've made some space to steep. So I've been thinking about the goddesses, I've been thinking about goddesses for next year, and whether we do all new ones and like surprises and make new sculpts. But it's partially because I do have some time to steep that those bubbles can rise up, and I can look at them with some more clarity, and also less of a tendency to grab the idea and let it run away from me. With the time to steep, the idea bubbles up and I examine it and then think, is this really what wants to come through? Is this really what I want, what needs to unfold? And it is so valuable to have the time to actually look at it instead of letting it run away from me. And so here's the poem about that. This year, I committed to creating and tending a life that is both big enough and small enough to hold me too. Big enough for reaching and for shining, small enough for softness and delight. A life that is rich and full, deep and wide, gentle and restorative, nurturing and whole. A teaching, a treasure, a truth. A life in which I pace myself with love and keep a wide margin for magic. As the Virginia creeper darkens to red and the elderberries droop and the evening primrose goes to seed, as the pawpaws ripen and the antlered bucks leap across the road, I find myself reaching for something I can sense but cannot touch or name. The idea that somehow, some way there is a code to crack or a mystery to solve. That if I push myself to box everything up and make it neat and tidy, packaged and deliverable, my work will be done and ease can finally settle in. At the same time, I remember what I've learned this year, that mine is a living practice, an ongoing process of arising and unfolding. There is no finished or too late because I am here, the wind against my face, flowers in my hands, and questions in my eyes. There is no final arriving. There is an ongoing spiral of reaching and return. No wonder I cannot get it all done, for I am here, utterly, wildly, blissfully, and bravely undone, leaning in and letting go. Leaning in and letting go, right? That's the process. And so there will be no giant book that guides you through the entire year. Instead, there will continue to be a living practice of arising and unfolding that emerges as we do. It emerges as we do. And so that's what there will be for next year. I'm looking forward to co-creating it with you as the wheel continues to roll along. Okay. So that said, I have a couple questions. So I have a couple of business housekeeping questions for you, and I have a cool giveaway. So stay tuned for the cool giveaway. But one is, I really liked doing the Space to Steep series that I've done for you this month, where there's the little videos on Fridays. So I've been thinking about doing one for September that's basically stepping into the flow, since the theme is flow. So, but I would welcome other ideas if people have ideas or kind of Q&A topics or themes or possibilities that you would like to see a Friday series on. I had fun making those Friday videos, and I feel like I have space to do something like that. I thought about just continuing to have it be Space to Steep, but I'd like to thematically do it. So feel free to let me know, like if you have a Q&A thing, a topic, a theme, stuff you'd like to see more of, let me know, and I'll do a Friday series on that. I'm really feeling inspired as the next year, as we cross the threshold to the next year, to do a couple of things like that where it changes. So instead of the same kind of content every month, we have sort of different thematic content and a different container that's kind of a mini container of a month, and then we roll into the next month and there's a little mini container that looks a little different with a different type of topic. So anyway, let me know what you think about that. And then likewise, I wanted to say, I really would love to have, somebody had suggested that our community practice guidebooks have contributions from other people in them. And I would love that. So if you have something, if you have a poem you'd like to contribute, you have some thoughts on the theme or the season, feel free to send those to me. And I would love to just sprinkle them through the future guidebooks. So I have 3 more guidebooks planned for this month, that would be amazing. I have 3 more guidebooks planned for this year, October, November, and December. So if you have anything related to October, November, and December to send, you can PM me on Facebook or send me an email at bridgesgrove@gmail.com or PM me on Patreon as well, and I will put those things in. Maxine, I have been planning to do some more Danu content for the Friday videos, but I usually cover the monthly goddesses quite a bit in the Monday videos that I do the divination videos for. So there's a lot, like there was a lot about Pachamama on Mondays in those Monday videos. So, but I've been thinking about putting Danu's stuff into the Stepping into the Flow series for September as well. And so we are already, so those are my questions for you. Q&A, themes, ideas for Friday videos, and then community contributions for the last 3 guidebooks of the year. The goddesses, Bridget, for the upcoming months, we have Hecate, the Morrigan, and Ceridwen. They're Hecate, yeah, the Morrigan. I'm getting them out of order, I think. Wait a second. Hecate's next, then the Morrigan, and then Ceridwen are the last 3 goddesses for this year. And so that's where we are. And so I know I'm kind of like being fast with lots of stuff to talk about, but I actually had 2 more poems that I still wanted to share today. So I'm like, and I still have my giveaway. So giveaway wise, I have I think she's perfect for Stepping into the Flow with Danu for September. I have one of our, so this is the new cloaked goddess, and yes, September is Danu, and that's already done, Colleen. So I don't want any contributions for that one because that's already finished and already scheduled for scheduled for this month on the 25th. So I don't need any more contributions for it because it's already finished. So anyway, so we have the little one, and I'm going to do some. I decided she was not supposed to get released until October. And then I thought, she's got such a feeling. Doesn't she have a flow feeling? And so I want to, so we're going to do like some pre-releases. She's actually Yamaya's color. We'll make a Danu color of her soon. And then the big one, so we have the first one. She's got a little bit of a divine imperfection where she has like a seam on her side. So I have that one to give away. This is the big size. And so if you leave a comment today or tomorrow on the replay on Patreon, I have one of the big cloaked goddesses to give away as a first. So, oh, Leanne, I'm so glad. That's wonderful to see that Danu is the main goddess for this year. Okay, so feel free to leave a comment and you can win her as a first try. And then, like I said, I'm planning to do some pre-release Danu colored ones of her, of my normal little smallie. I'm going to do that for next month instead of making you wait and making me wait all the way till October. We have an orange planned for October, but we'll do that. So, okay, glad to see that you are looking forward to the giveaway. And so, let's see. I had a little story that we are already, it makes me really happy. It's very rewarding to see people, like what you make, because we work on things here and we're thinking, oh, I bet they'll like this. And it's nice to know that you really do. You really do like it. So that's great. So we've already hit 3:30, And I will go ahead. I probably won't do the drawing until Wednesday, but I will count up all your little votes and put you in the drawing. So thank you for all the nice responses there. That makes me happy. I'm going to go ahead and close. I had a couple more poems, but since we're already at 3:30, I'm going to end with just one of them, and we'll revisit my other topic during next week's live instead. I was going to share, speaking of loving, people are kindly saying they love my work. I got some critical comments this week, some bad reviews, and I was going to share some thoughts about getting bad reviews, but I'll just go ahead and wait till next week for my bad review section. One of them, it made me laugh because the person had ordered one of our stickers, and then in the review said, "It's a sticker. There's too many breasts for me to put it on my car." And I thought, well, why'd you order it then? Like, why'd you order it then? It's not my fault that it has too many breasts. So that was funny. It was on a sticker. It was one of our mandala stickers, and the review said, "Too many breasts to put it on my car." And so that made me laugh. But then I got a negative review of the Great Between book too, and so I had some thoughts to share about when your work doesn't like really land with people. And so I'll save that for next week. So stay tuned for my other bad review story if you want to hear that one. And but today, since it is the full moon, I wanted to close with the new poem that I wrote for, it was the same person. The same person wrote the bad sticker review and then also wrote a bad book review as well. And so if you have a good book review to share, please feel free to pop that out there. And yes, Emberly, too many breasts, no such thing. It's like, have you seen my shop? Like, have you actually visited any of my things that I do? There is there's no shortage of breasts in my work. I blame the 10 years as a Little H League leader and, the 45 years as an embodied person. For the breasts. Okay, so closing with this poem from today. So full moon acknowledgement and also our word of the day. Which one even was it? Oh, advise. And so I struggle a little bit with advise because advice is a little easier. Sometimes I do my word list and I'm like, what was I thinking putting this word in here? And then I'm going to use these same word lists next year and I'm going to be stuck writing another poem about this. Just kidding. But advise. And so this was the poem that came up for me this morning. And I thought it was a really nice full moon offering to close out this week's community practice. So once more, inviting you to, let your neck soften, let your shoulders soften, take a deep breath. Calling yourself in, calling your spirit back, centering yourself into presence. Rooting yourself in this land, starting where your feet are, remembering you can always return. And here's the poem. Listen to the moon. She will advise you to be patient with cycles of change, trusting that you need times in the dark to rest as well as time to shine in your fullness. Listen to the wildflowers. They will advise you to wait until the time is right, to root yourself in the support beneath you, and then gently open yourself to the bright possibility that tugs you into blooming, nourished and beautiful as you respond to what calls you most passionately. Listen to the wind. It will advise you to be free, to drift where you wish and reach through every crack and dance across whole continents because there is nothing that can hold you back. Everything and everywhere is open to you. Let yourself ease with joy into every space you long for. Listen to the river. She will advise you to let go, to flow where life takes you, to find your way with inexorable patience over tumbling stones and tiny cracks, massive mountains and rocky shores. This current of continuation that knows just how swiftly or how languidly to move as it makes its own way. Listen to this earth. She will advise you to remember that you walk on holy ground, that you need only start where your feet are to remember you belong here. There is no late or never, no behind or out of time. There is life's unfolding and you are here, which means there is so much that is right and good with you today. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing space with me today, you beautiful people in this week's community practice. I always love sharing space with you, even if I'm discombobulated and my ceiling fan is going annoyingly in the background and my tripod is leaning on my computer. I still love sharing space with you in this way and showing up for life's unfolding, whatever it holds, whatever it holds. So thank you. May you sink into the modes of goodness that surround you this week. Thank you, Leanne and Anna Maria, Maxine, Janetta, Karen, Christy, who else did I miss? Taryn, Dawn, Emberly. So glad to have shared space with you, and thank you so much for the nice comments. And oh, thank you, Karen, about the quilt. That's my grandma made that for us for our anniversary. I think it's just signed with her signature in ink on the corner, and it's a quilt for my grandma. Thank you, Anita and Dawn, Sherry. So good. Thank you, Jennifer. Bye bye, everybody. Keep living your magic.